your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Chrissie is hilarious.
Chrissie, have you ever heard of the comedian Basha K. Ali?
No, that sounds like something you yell out before you blow up a plane.
30 seconds remaining.
But you know what, Chrissie, to say I dabbled in stand-up is so different. I haven't been disrespectful to you at all.
I was very confused by the title, Everything Everywhere All at Once, because that's also what we call it when Ash takes off his shirt.
I shouldn't be up here. I should be in school on the other side of the ocean.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We're on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Rumble, Rockfin, all the places where fine podcasts are sold. Before I bring in my fabulous guest, I have a couple of gigs to plug. Woo! July 8th, I'll be in Morris Plains, New Jersey, headlining Tiff's Ale House. Come check it out. Keanu Thompson will be opening for me. Then I'm heading to Richmond, Virginia, to the Sandman Comedy Club, headlining Wednesday, August 9th. Never been to Virginia before. I'm very excited. Then I'll be in Houston, Texas for the Anime Matsuri convention. Simpcast will be at the convention. We'll have a panel. We'll have a booth. We'll be there hanging out, cosplaying, having fun, probably drinking out of a flask. So come check it out. And then I'm headlining that same weekend in Houston, Friday, August 11th at the Secret Group. So come get your tickets now. Lila Hart will be hanging out with me in Houston. She'll be at that show. She'll be at the convention. It'll be a great time. Check it out, guys. Yo, I'm so excited for this guest. You know, I say that I'm excited for every guest, but I'm actually really excited for this guest. He is a comedian. You might recognize him from Scream or so I'm about to do one of those intros where I give away his name, and I always like to do the name at the end, but you know, it's not always a perfect world. You may seen him from Scream or the Jamie Kennedy Experiment. Welcome, Jamie Kennedy. Hello.
How are you, Chrissie?
I am super. I am loving that painting behind you, or maybe it's a photo. Do we like this view better, or do we like this one? I like this one. Let's be close
I
up.
like this one. Yeah, this is I heard you say you're going to conventions. I do a ton of them myself, and this was an artist who put all the icons. I don't know if you can see it here, all the icons
wow.
of horror, and it's just an insane. It lights up, but it's messed up right now.
Do you get a lot of like very starstruck, nervous fans to meet you, like lines at these conventions?
Yeah, it's been a blessing. I'm not gonna lie. I got amazing people. The horror, science fiction, fantasy, superhero genre is just like a beautiful group of people that really love, live, and vibe in that genre, and they're so like appreciative, and the cons have become bigger than ever, and it's just a wild time. You were talking about how you cosplay, like cosplaying has just gone through the roof now. So
It used to
it's
just be like,
incredible.
oh, wait for Halloween, and then you know you get people make fun of you for, oh, you're one of those girls who's being slutty at Halloween. It's like, no, I just want to have a good costume. But yeah, I love these conventions. Do you how many boobs do you think you've signed?
I've signed probably more on the stand-up circuit. I've definitely signed a good amount. Definitely Phoenix did, for some reason, I feel like really likes their flesh signed. But I've signed some tushes in Canada. But now it's like I literally have people film it. And I'm like, are you documenting this? Like, it's kind of took a break, but since COVID, I think people have let their freak flag fly. And so I was in Chico. I want to say Chico, up by Chico State, and two is like, will you sign my breast? And everybody was there, and I had a female opener, so everything was like copacetic. But
Oh,
I think
yeah.
people are back at it.
Yeah, the pandemic's over. People are ready to swap fluids again. I signed my second boob. The first boob I signed, actually, I let the first boob was actually my boob. Stormy Daniels signed my boob. I opened or hosted for her once in White Plains a couple of years ago, and I was like, I
Wow.
don't know, weirdly starstruck to meet her. So she signed my boob, and I was just like, oh my God. And then I signed my first boob in Dallas, Texas. And so I made a joke on stage about signing boobs, and then at the end of the show, she like met at the merch table. She's like, sign my boob. And then as I'm signing it, she goes, yeah, I'm about to have like it's the last few days of this boob because I'm gonna have it taken off, like for cancer or something. Like I don't know if she was gonna get a mastectomy or what. And I didn't ask any questions. I just was like, oh my God. It went from like this fun, light moment to like, wow, I'm gonna be maybe the last person to like sign this woman's tent. I was like honored.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe
And
it could be preserved.
that's what I asked her. I was like, "Are you gonna, like, put it on your mantle or something or try to frame it or keep the skin?" And, then I think I creeped her out. But it's always so
Wow.
anytime someone asks for any
Do
kind of
you do it? I just sign them. People just come up to me, and it's women. But like, do you do a joke about it, or maybe this lady was into you, or she was just like, hey, I want to get this body part signed.
I think I just riffed about it on stage, and,
Okay, yeah,
then she ended up meeting with me. Like, yeah, she was with her boyfriend or husband or whatever, and, she was definitely intoxicated, but
that
sometimes
helped.
that helps. That helps you have fun. Jamie, you have such an interesting story because I just feel like you really persevered and like grinded it out. And I was looking at your bio, and I can't believe that you were in Romeo and Juliet, like the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet, which was like one of my favorite movies, and it solidified my crush on Leonardo DiCaprio.
I'm sure. I'm sure it solidified a lot of people's. It started my crush on Leo.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was. Listen, I have it would take a lot of podcasts to go through it, but basically, I was doing stand up, and back in the day, you did stand up because the goal was to be, like Eddie Murphy and Tim Allen. You become a successful stand up, and then you get discovered, you get a TV show, and then you get in the movies. It's different how today everything is all mixed at once. But stand up for me, I didn't really have much more than like 5 or 6 minutes, but that's all you needed. Like, got a really tight five, and then
Wow.
you showcase. And that's what I did. And I was always showcasing my 5 minutes, and then I got a TV spot and stuff. But then I signed with my agency, APA, and then they were like, well, you can act too. So they started sending me out, and it was incredible. But
So stand
I
up was
knew that
first.
it wasn't like, anybody was like, well, this was my journey. I always laugh at those people because it's like, I didn't even know what any of this was. Okay. So it's like, and as simple as story is, I was working at Domino's Pizza. I graduated high school. I got out of prison. Okay. That's high school is prison.
Prison?
School is prison.
As a
No,
high
prison is
Oh,
school.
okay, meaning high school, right.
Like, I knew that there was way more in life, and I felt like I wanted to quit school in ninth grade. Like, I just think it was dumb. My mom wouldn't let me. And then I got a job at Domino's, and I was doing great. I was making really good tips. I had a cute little manager at the store, and she gave me free pizza at night. We would drink beer, and I was living my best life at 18. But I'm like, there's more to life. And so I took a local acting class, and then my teacher convinced me to move to LA. And then when I got to LA, I didn't know anything, but I just trialed and errored it. I was like, I think I want to be an actor. And that's like, I had no idea. I've always loved comedy. And then I was like trying to become an actor and working as an extra and doing all this stuff. And, someone's like, you should try stand up. You're funny. And I didn't do it at first. I did improv, and there were
Me
actually
too.
groups.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of groups where you could sign up, and I took a class and did all that, and then they were like, so I was doing improv, and I was like, that's the way for me. And then like a lot of improv groups closed, and there was always fighting, and people were like, you should just take your characters and do stand up. And I was like, well, it's like, you don't have to wait for a call back. You don't have to like deal with other people's schedules, and they're like, you just sign up, and then it's like, just try it. And once I did it, it was very painful process, but I was like, oh, okay, at least this is something that I can control with what I try. I write it, I try it, I get a reaction. So that's how I got into it.
That's similar for me because I found like I was very scared. I remember like the idea of doing stand up was very scary to me, but then I did improv for 5 years. I did a one-woman show, and then I was like, oh, well, stand up is way more autonomous. You don't have to rent a room, rent a coach, have 8 to 10 people to deal with. You can be way more independent. So that's really cool. And
Thank you. I lost a bud, but we'll get back to it. Does this screw you up?
lost a bud. You sound good, budless.
Okay. Go for it.
Tell me about Philly anger. I didn't know this was a thing because I know what stereotypes Long Islanders have, but I didn't know there's a specific kind of anger that people from Philly have.
Who said this?
I read it in your bio.
What did it say?
Gosh, let me go through something
I'll
like
tell
very
you,
okay.
Basically, well, if you're from the East Coast, you're a grinder, you're a puncher, and you survive by two ways. Either you're either really tough or you're funny. And humor was a way for me to navigate those things. I'm not like tough, but I am a little crazy, and I think that really helps. And so Philly people are, the issue with Philly is like, hey, I think instead of like being a carpenter or a firefighter or someone works in a steel mill, you're like, I think I want to maybe get a job at Nordstrom's. Fuck you. You can't do that. You think you're better than me? You piece of shit. Like, so it's like, not only do you not want to do a super blue collar job, if you're like, oh, I think I want to maybe move to Hollywood. Oh, you think you're better than me? Like, that's how Philly was. There was a very negative intensity, a epigenetic, if you will, long lineage of anger and cold and steel and Catholicism and crime and subways and just think of metal and grinding in the subway stop. And plus it was New York's little brother that New York always took all the glory, and we had our own shit. So
yeah, New York gets all the chicks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's a thing there. But and that's why I ran to LA as soon as I could, because there's a beautiful openness about LA, and I could struggle in LA, and things that people didn't like about me in Philly, they revered it in LA. And I was like, okay, but I still have that hustler, so I could still use that. But I'm a sweet guy, so I wouldn't step on anybody to get ahead, but I could definitely be manipulative, that an East Coast mentality will help you with.
Did you feel like being from the East Coast and coming from a stand-up background helped you like in Hollywood in acting, because you kind of had a good work ethic and grit going into it?
1000%. I was talking to Jack Osborne about this yesterday, doing his pod, not to drop a name, but he was like, yeah, he's like, you really are the quintessential person that like moved to LA with $1 and a dream. And I was like, yeah. And I just did not I was just never going to ever be a 9-to-5, a normal person. I couldn't. I wrote them all down. I had 36 jobs before I stopped working and became a working actor. And I got fired from almost all of them. And my mom's like, wow, then start your own business, because you always want to be the boss. And that's what comedy is, which you're the boss of your own, you're the narcissist in the room, and I just never could survive. I see the flaws in how things are run. I walk into Dunkin' Donuts, I want to go behind the counter and I want to rework everything. These guys don't know what they're doing.
I'm always cleaning up. Like, I'm always picking up garbage every place I go.
I want to go into Panera and go, you're fired, you're off break. Because there's so many people that just don't care. They're not invested. And so it's like people are like, I don't have a job. But then it's like, well, you're not really fighting hard for it. And it's like, well, it's a low-end job. Well, it's like, I started at low-end jobs and then I hustled. And the thing about Hollywood is there's no ceiling, I mean, it's completely changed now, but there's no ceiling to where you can go. And that's what I always wanted to do. And if I didn't have any sort of, like I said, like self-centered narcissism, or if people didn't tell me I had any talent, like I think I have some talent, and I would just be a great manager. Like I can see what people are good at and I'm really honest with them.
You'd be a good like undercover boss.
Yeah, I would love to do that, but I still love being in front of the camera because, I love
because you're a star. I too was fired from every job I ever had. I thought I had a high job count. I think I topped out at 15 or 16 before I went full time with comedy and podcasting and all these jobs. I just thought like, wow, I guess I'm not employable, or I just suck at working. But I guess it was because I was meant for something else. And I still definitely struggle with like ADD and procrastinating, but like I definitely at this point could never work for someone else unless I am really committed to their goals or their vision. And I guess you have this like textbook story, like moving to LA. Like your story is what, when I first started stand up, like what, in 2010 2011, like that was still sort of the path. Like you move to a New York or an LA and you just fucking go for it. And now I feel like so much has changed. You could blow up on TikTok and live in Alaska and end up at a comedy club doing an hour because a manager scouts you and goes, hey, can you figure out how to do stand up? Because you could sell a lot of tickets. It's the process for, I guess, becoming famous or doing the road has really changed. And I think some comedians have adapted to that, but some I think have had meltdowns, and I don't know if it's an age thing.
Adapt or die, dude.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of comics, they don't want to figure out YouTube or social media or how to get their stuff out there. So
enjoy those spots at the local club every night. You know what I mean? Enjoy working out your 10 or 15 every night. I mean, that's fine. But it doesn't mean that, like you said, like I'll sell good tickets on the weekend, but a YouTuber will sell out double on a Monday. And it's like, you know what? That's fine. I don't mind it. I'm like, how do I do that?
Yeah. By doing this show. No, I'm kidding. How have you seen Hollywood change, like during your sort of, not during your lifetime, but I guess like, yeah, I mean, what year do you think? So Scream was probably your biggest break. What year was that? 2000 and it's an early aughts movie. I should look at your bio. How do you feel like Hollywood
weird. In the middle of this convo, Bobby Lee called me. He never calls me. He texts me.
Really? Maybe he's watching.
That's so funny. What were you asking
me? Okay, so how has Hollywood changed in the time that you have been working, or since your big break to now?
That's a huge.
Uh-oh, you're muted now.
Sorry, you there?
There you go.
How has it changed?
Yeah, do you feel like it's become like more woke or more sort of uptight? Like, and how do you navigate that? Because you're a comedian who I feel like just doesn't give a fuck, and you put funny first.
You can hear me good, right?
Yes.
It's completely changed. Where do I begin? Well, they don't make They used to make, just put it like this, just go Disney, right? So Disney had 4 4 umbrellas where they made movies. All right. So you had Disney, they had Hollywood Pictures, and you had Touchstone, and then you had Disney Animation, and then you had Pixar. Okay, so five of them, right? So Pixar are big. Their animators were pretty big in the animation part. Disney would make a big movie like, Pirates or something. But like Touchstone would make a medium-sized movie of like 60 million, like Enemy of the State. Hollywood Pictures would make, 10 to $12 million movies. So you would go out and you might have 3 auditions in a day for 3 different movies under the same umbrella. And so they'd make like a Biodome for like 8 million, another movie for a Parent Trap for like 25 million, and then an Enemy of the State for like 60 million, and then Pirates of 100 million, and they would make in, 10 movies a year each division. Like, this is 50 movies, just one company. But then you had Sony, Fox, Miramax, Weinstein. I mean, you had Lionsgate. You have 9 different companies, Warner Brothers. So imagine that, like 30. Let's just say 30 times 8, 250, 260 a year, plus independents that could get into a festival. So the dearth of product has left. The main word I would say is constriction, meaning like how there used to be 10 cell phone companies. Now there's like 3. How the banks are constricting. There, 3 banks just got folded and under Chase. It's the same with entertainment. Disney swallowed up Fox. So everything is going to be like 4 platforms like Disney Plus, Peacock, Paramount Plus, and then everyone else is going to have a Patreon or an OnlyFans. And so
OnlyFans has to buy Patreon and then take over everything else.
And so it's that just alone has changed the game. Appointment viewing on television has changed the game. No one, let me watch. The only thing that you watch on TV live is sports. Streaming decides to put a whole season out at once. And that's just part of it. And then mandates have changed. It's not the best person for the role anymore. Like, here's a perfect story for the beginning of Pride Month. A couple of years ago, I was up for a role, and my agent's like, here's Jamie. And they actually talked to the casting director, which people don't do anymore, which is another crazy thing. Everything's just a self-tape or a meeting on the Zoom. So much has changed. And the casting director said, love Jamie, but I'm going to hire an authentically gay man. And my manager's like, well, what does that mean? Or my agent's like, what does that mean? And she's like, someone who's gay. And my agent says, I don't know what my client does past 7 o'clock.
Right.
He could put balls on his chin.
Right. Like, give you a chance to put balls on your chin. I'm sure you could do it.
But Jamie's not gay. And he's like, yeah, I know. But like, so it was, I never really told that story because it was like, I could do the character. If you say, listen, there's not enough actors that identify, that are homosexuals in getting roles. And this is a homosexual character. Yeah, totally. I get it. Give the job. But like, that was just like the beginning of like, well, you can't act as opposed to you have to be.
Wow.
It's like a gay man has to play a gay man. It's like a straight man can play a gay man. A gay man can play a straight man. So that's a lot of the change right there. Like,
do you remember what year this was when your agent?
About 2017. The great wokeness of I call it 2017 changed everything with the Me Too's and the wokeness. That all changed. And you could be on a set with Deborah Messing, who I believe is pretty left-leaning, and then Tim Allen, who's kind of right-leaning, but both of them are reasonable people. Well, now that would never happen. And Hollywood, for some God unknown reason, even though Ronald Reagan is from California, was the governor of California, and was a staunch Republican, and who loved Hollywood, Hollywood went super Berkeley loony liberal. And me, Jamie Kennedy, B-Red, kicking it old school, scream, just a normal guy is considered like to the right. Russell Brand considered to the right. Like, that's insanity. And so there's some weird ass thing happening. So that's another thing how it changed. And here's another one. I could do 4 hours. The Oscars I was just reading their mandates. Half the fucking movies would never been nominated that won the last 20 years, just based on these mandates. You can't make art through coercion. Art comes from a natural place. So I think Hollywood's got a rude awakening coming.
Do you see independent creators competing with Hollywood, or do you think it'll implode? Hollywood will either implode, they'll have to give up the mandates, or they'll be kind of tramped, or like just I mean, Daily Wire did a couple of movies. I don't know if they're pursuing it much anymore, but it just seems like there's not going to be another Hollywood. It's just I don't see how that's
it's
possible.
already happening. Like, for instance, there's this great line between like an Oscar winning movie and then let's go to the other angle, porn. Right? And porn, like Vivid, would consider like Vivid is like the Warner Brothers of Hollywood. So porn and Hollywood have always been intertwined. Like porn, like you said, Stormy Daniels, she was a porn star, but not like, to me, never like what they call gonzo. She was never like super graphic. She did like movies and she had sex in them, but it was like, like she was a porn star. She was under contract. She was like a classy porn star, and she did regular movies. I was in a movie with her, and like a lot of porn stars do comedies. They're funny. So that was a mix of two different genres, right? But now you got traditional Hollywood, and then you've got, let's just say, OnlyFans, right? And everyone used to want to go and become this respected artist, but they put so many, regulations and different things on how to navigate the system that people are like, I'm gonna make money, you know what I mean? And so whether they're doing Patreon or OnlyFans, and there's all levels to this stuff, or Twitch, or they're blowing up in TikTok and they're doing stand-up, or they're blowing up on TikTok and they're making speeches, or they're making their own independent films and selling it directly to Tubi, or whatever it is, or they're doing their own SoundClouds and selling their own songs at their own concerts, or writing their own novels and putting it on Audible. Like, yeah, it's already done. Like, it's just a fight for eyeballs. And so I don't know if I made a good analogy there, but like Bad Baby doesn't want to do anything. I don't know her at all, but like she made like $55 million on OnlyFans. And I don't know if she wants to be an actress or anything, but it doesn't matter for her because she's like, I don't need anyone.
She's
no
good
one,
now.
Like you said, you don't want to work for anyone. I don't think anyone does. And I think that alone is a disruption. And also the creative mandates are disruption, but then the preaching that Hollywood does, they're so fucking out of touch. I go on the road every week. You go on the road every week. No one feels like this shit. No one believes this shit that they're spitting out. And the general person's like, how many times you go to shows that like, fuck Hollywood? People are actually mad at it.
I wish Hollywood actors were required to like go on the road like comics are, so that they could stay in touch with regular people.
Yeah, they're delusional. And I'm trust me, I've done it. I do it all, right? I'm in all worlds. And it's like there's a lot different fucking vibe than going off a fucking one-nighter in Long Island somewhere and then going to a fucking Vanity Fair party. And people need to realize that.
Which do you have more fun at?
I mean, you can get I probably would have more fun in the Long Island. Yeah, I enjoy Vanity Fair, but it gets a little, everyone's too worried. But yeah, I would love to. The Long Island, you don't have to worry about stuff.
I feel like the mandates are very creatively stifling, and they were all put forth, and it feels like the quickest way to implement all this diversity, which I guess they felt was lacking, is to do these woke remakes or these diverse remakes. I mean, like there's a meme of like every ginger female character like being remade into like a black character, and I'm just thinking like, was that the most efficient? I guess it was the most efficient way to do that. Just remake everything more black, more diverse, whatever. Do you think it would have been even possible to put the focus on just writing and creating new stories with a diverse, background rather than just remaking everything that they consider to be too white?
We do need to be more diverse, and it is happening, and it has to be done. I mean, look, if I'm a little black girl and I look at the Little Mermaid, I think it's great that now they can look at the Little Mermaid and see themselves and go, hey, that's me. You know what I mean? And I think that's good. You know what I mean? Like, you have the original, and this one seems to be working, and it's huge. So, I think you got to do that. But then you also have people like Jordan Peele, who makes I think people like him who create from the nuts to bolts, and we're soup to nuts, and it's his vision. He happens to be a black man, and with black actors and a black story, and probably a whole black crew, and that's beautiful. And just like Everything All at Once, I think Everything All at Once is an amazing movie, and that was a mix of everybody. So I think there are certain groups that are gonna feel underserved, and they need to have their voice heard 1,000 million %. I think what you're saying and what I'm saying is when it's glaringly obvious. Now, The Little Mermaid caused a lot of stuff. I have no problem with The Little Mermaid. I didn't see it. I don't remember the first one. I'm not 14-year-old girl, but I think it's great, and they should do that. They remade Beauty and the Beast. They could put an Asian woman in the next one as Beauty. I don't care, but like where I see it is commercials. If you look at commercials and you see like a white dude and a black chick, or a black chick and a white dude, where you could tell they would never ever ever like hook up in real life, but there they are. They're going to Sherman-Williams together. It's like
Yes.
That shit is so fucking hilariously funny. It's like this was a fucking mashup of like, and that's where I laugh. So it's like we have to be diverse.
Guys don't want to pick out paint, no matter what color they are. It's not believable.
But I think that it's fine. It's like also like, don't get mad if we comment on it. That's my whole thing, is like, you can comment on stuff, and our job as a comedian is, and Dice said this brilliantly on Joe Rogan recently. I want to quote him properly, and I think he quoted Lenny Bruce, and it's like, our job is to pick out the things that are going on in the day and comment on them in a funny way. That's our job.
Did you ever feel around this time that everything was getting more woke, like 2017, were people looking to you? Like, was your political opinion ever out there? And if so, did you feel like you had to like stifle those opinions if they were outside of like mainstream, traditionally like leftists, very democratic point of view?
Listen, Chrissy, I mean, if you know anything about me, like, I was never a political guy. Like, I was never that. I let Bill Maher do that. Even though I did a bunch of politically incorrects, I was always literally the comic relief. They would have on like, Ariana Huffington and, Gaddafi's son. And then I would say a funny joke. You know what I mean? Like, that was in the 90s, early 2000s. And I was never political, but like, I think a lot of this shit is, I'm trying to be as clear as I can, is that Hollywood is a town of imitators, not innovators. Okay.
Ooh.
And there's a lot of pussies. And what I mean by that is a lot of people follow. Okay. And if you're a comedian, you have to be a lone wolf. You can have all your friends and you can have this, but you cannot try to impress anyone other than the truth and the audience. And even the audience, if you're paid, it's different than me I'm doing a corporate next week. I'm going to go easy on them. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm there to entertain and to give them a bunch of ad sale guys. But when I'm going out for my shows and it's the Jamie Kennedy show, I'm going to give them a good time, but I'm going to impute them with some truths because that's our job. And I find that in Hollywood, I was never this person, but I was like, of course, like anyone else, I ran for cover in the beginning. And I'm like, I don't think I touched anybody inappropriately on the set of Buffy in the mid-90s. You know what I mean? Doing a guest spot. Like, did I hug someone weird?
Wow.
Like, you start
How horrible that you have to reevaluate every hug
fucking
and every
25
meeting.
years. And I'm like, I think I'm good. And then, like, did I hug an extra on screen too hard? And I'm like, you know, and then at some point, things just kept going and going and going. And I'm like, well, I really don't have anything to hide. You know, if I've made things that people would consider mistakes, I can talk about, you know, why they did. And I can give my opinions. But then once COVID happened, and then I started seeing this and this and this, and I was like, no, fuck this. And then Hollywood keeps biting off its own finger and it becomes less sexy. And I'm like, fuck this. And then I'm like, power to the people. And now I'm like 90% don't give a fuck. Do not give a fuck. And I'm like, I've done it. I've been fortunate. And it's like, the truth is the most important thing. The real truth. Not escapism. Not your bullshit sports team. Not your bullshit fucking superhero movie. The truth. And so that's where I'm at. And I'm not going to sit there and read for some fucking casting director for some fucking movie that could be amazing that can't even get nominated because it doesn't hit the fucking mandates. Or hopefully, I got a pilot. Get the fuck out of here. I could sell more fucking money on fucking sweatshirts. Like, and I don't need it. I've made money. I'm glorious. You know, so it's like, yeah, they made this guy. And I was telling this to somebody the other day. I don't have an axe to grind, but I'm not the one. Like, I know too much. I see all the hypocrisies, and I've been in. I'm right there. I always tell people I was never on the cover of Rolling Stone, but I was in it. I was never on the cover of GQ, but I had an article. So like, that's my access into the game. And so, plus I'm also fucking going to Applebee's after I play a Long Island one-nighter. So I got it all covered.
You have to go to Applebee's. That's where the people are.
Yeah.
Other than this, the one role where they gave to the authentically gay man, which I'm so sorry. They could have just given you a chance. I mean, I feel like most people are about 4 or 5 drinks away from being authentically gay. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself here.
I think I could do that.
I think you could. Do you feel like you're not giving a fuck has lost you work or opportunities or relationships?
You know, I talked to my podcast producer about that, and he's like, "I love to see you, bro. You're having a resurgence." But he's like, sometimes he said this about a year and a half ago. He's like, "But you really walk this line, dude." But even him, as I would consider more of a, we always talk about it. There's like a mainstream comic, and then there's a Silver Lakey. You know what I mean? It's like the same as like, I love to do New York City, but then you got to do those Brooklyn shows. So it's like, and he's even like, dude, he's even getting fed up with it. So at first I would have thought that, but I'm not like some crazy, like, in my opinion, maybe I am to people, some crazy, like, over, you know, right-wing person. But I think maybe, but I don't think people were dying to do it anyway. And I think that just in general, like, cisgender white males, late 40s, early 50s, whatever we are, like a lot of the roles, they're not as leading, and they're more like you go out for like the creep or the bad guy right now.
Is that what
And
you get typecasted as?
yeah. So I feel that, I don't know, probably has, but like I said, there were certain things that weren't going to happen anyway because it's all economics. So the best roles I gotten recently are just straight offers and movies that I did independently, and that we're looking for good distribution. But it's like, I'm fine,
Yeah. It seems like now if you're a comedian who just comments about what's going on or speaks truth about society or wokeism or any of this stuff going on, that you are put into this category of being political or being right wing just because you're making observations and speaking the truth. And I think if you're not doing that, then like, why are you doing stand up? You're just
Yes.
parroting the mainstream media, which in that case, like, you don't need a microphone. Like, we don't need to hear your voice. You're just
You know what? You just said something that was very interesting, and I forgot to answer it, and you totally agree with you, is that there's too much groupthink. And the last person that should groupthink is a comedian. And I'm talking like you have to you have to be able to be prepared to alienate everyone. And that's what they made me, Hollywood made me like this. And so, even clubs, like there are times when audiences a joke will work so much better at the Irvine Improv than it'll work at the Lab on Melrose. But I want to make the Lab laugh like Irvine, and that's my job to get better. But it's also their job to chill out a little bit. But it's our job to get better.
right. There's a difference between censoring yourself and reading the room and being like, okay, where are they lying politically? Like, okay, where can you push
But
it a
again,
little
because
bit?
they don't want to look bad in front of their fucking fake friends. You
Yeah.
understand it? These people don't like each other. They don't really pick each other up at the airport. They don't really talk. They just share a White Claw and vape and go, oh, you're so cool, girl. They don't have deep conversations. They're shells.
Yeah, it's like, would you help this bitch move? If not.
No, exactly. Did you give the bitch $1,000 for her fucking, I don't know.
New tits. Do you feel like you're mostly like, if you had to pick, you'd say you're maybe in the center? You seem more maybe libertarian.
I don't even know what they are. Bill Dawes kind of described me one time. And I think he was right. He's like fiscally you're conservative, but you're like given to programs like less than. I've been very fortunate, so I will pay into programs to help those in needs. I won't pay in to help you fix your Oxycontin habit, but I'll pay for you to try to get off of it. And like a couple strikes, then I'm like, you're off the nipple, bro. But like socially, I'm liberal, but again, there's a difference between, I was telling this on the thing the other day, as a Target, celebrate Pride all you want. Make all the most beautiful colors, and I'll wear the goddamn rainbows. I love those colors. But once we start putting Satan in it, like Satan on a diaper, I'm out. So, no.
They really did themselves a disservice by hiring a designer who actually paired LGBT acceptance with Satan.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
You're not, and yeah, there's no reason for any of that to be on baby clothes. But again, it's like we have sports teams on baby clothes. Babies don't know what sports they like yet. But yeah, it's just because it has to do with sexuality. And again, it's like I said this earlier, like kids don't need to learn about all the different genders and sexualities, just like they don't need to learn like how to fix a transmission. They don't need to know what's under a hood of a car. They're not even driving yet. It doesn't apply to them. I just feel like
100%.
Keep the sex stuff away.
100%.
So you're performing mostly in LA. That's like your home base now?
No, this is my home. I live here for 35 years. But I mean, I'm always on the road. But yeah, when I'm in town, I perform everywhere here.
When you're performing in LA, do you tend to hear, like, if you could categorize like LA comics, are there any jokes or topics or things that you feel like a lot of LA comics, maybe the ones that are kind of more leftists or like parroting the mainstream narrative, are there any kind of like jokes or topics that you feel like they're just hitting too hard or that you're sick of hearing?
You know what? I will say this. I don't. I don't rate comics, or I'm not. I believe our job is to be artists and not critics, but we should critique society. I will say this about LA. I think it's very good at putting all types of people on shows, like from gender to sexuality to beliefs. I would consider me probably more to the right, and there's other comics that very well that might not be as outspoken. I'm not out there like with a MAGA hat, but I definitely talk about the funniness and benefits of Trump, and and I'm like, why is he always hollered at, but like other presidents aren't? So no, I don't really say that. Like you'd be amazed at the shows that I'm on, and I say some pretty crazy shit, and people are cool with me, and I think because there are comics at heart, and they're like, the joke is first, and so I'm actually pretty impressed with that, and I will go to uncomfortable rooms to do them because I want to be better and learn, and I cannot, and I think just by me showing up there, they will appreciate that, even if they don't agree with me. And I will tell you that people that are considered one way are definitely like going, you're not totally wrong. So I think this shit's getting so bizarre that people are like, okay, there's a lot of people hopping off the ship here.
Yeah. And I think I think it's important to every once in a while, like, yeah, not Brooklyn, but like, yeah, do spots in the city, do like lefty rooms, do lefty crowds, because that helps your range as well. Like, if I always just played to like, okay, kind of like based or more right wing, it's like, okay, it's like
I have to say that I can't think of one club that does not book every type of person, from the store to the improv to the factory to flappers to the ha ha ha. They all mix it up, and there's all types on a show. And I actually think, and from I'm used to be just New York, and tons of New Yorkers, and tons of people from Austin, and I think it's actually really good. And that's the one thing, and that's why comedy, I think, is thriving, because it's the one place where you can go, you can hear different opinions. And I think it's more important than any type of art right now. I love movies and stuff, but again, it's like, here's a great escapism. You know what I mean? And it's like, our world is just too crazy right now to just fucking go into a romantic comedy.
Yeah, that's why I think people are into like true crime really shot up. I guess they did the stats on that, and
that's female.
I don't know why. Why do women?
Because
like
I think women want to be like scared. It has to do with horror. It has to be like, oh, this is really dangerous. I'm getting excited. Oh, it's too much. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. There's snapped parties.
If I want to be scared, I'll just talk to my dad about one of the topics that trigger him. Like, I don't need to go. I don't need to go. Like, I'll just I want to talk about this clip. You had this fantastic clip, and it's like the reason why I hit you up to get you on this show, because I absolutely love this moment. I had kind of a viral heckler moment recently.
You had a huge one.
It was crazy.
You had a huge one. You were everywhere.
I'm like, it's still kind of unbelievable that happened, because it's like by far
and you were so funny. God, was that funny?
Wow,
you were so funny. Your jokes were so funny. Your playing with the people was so funny. You were playing badminton instead of serving. You could have served the ball down their throat. And then your response to them, and the audience was so beautiful with you. Like,
it was amazing. I love badminton. I would prefer my whole set to be badminton. Like, I have more fun.
Yeah, you're one of the few people which I love, which I do this as well, I believe. It's what heckling is part of it, and it's a beautiful wave to ride. You don't have to just ruin a heckler's night. You have to go ugly right away.
I never want to throw somebody out. It's my job to subdue and charm everybody.
Yes, and you did it beautifully.
I mean, they did walk out, but I tried. And then you had this one, which I'm going to play, which I loved.
Okay. I can't hear it.
Oh boy. Oh, you can't hear this?
No, but I remember
Oh
that.
shit. Oh no. How do I
Did
get
your audience hear it?
No, I don't think anyone heard it. I can't get it up on the Brave browser because I can't log on to Instagram. But I'm streaming from the Brave browser. I can't switch over. I can't. I'm not explaining it well, but I can't open it here. Okay, shoot. Let me try to open this again because this is such an amazing clip. But you were talking to this woman in the crowd, and you were like, "We're here to be honest. We're here to comment on society." And she's like, "Well, but," and as soon as she starts talking, I'm sure you could tell, like, okay, this woman's gonna be a handful because she goes, "Well, the times we're living in now, and people have depression." And I'm just thinking,
I'll take you through it. You want me to take you through it?
yes, while I try to get this up.
So basically what happened was, I always tell people there's something called the law of otherwise. Like whatever's going on in your day with something, somebody might have been having a lot going on and they don't know about. And so I had just done like 7 shows in a row. I was in Vegas. I've been on the road for like 3 weeks. A friend of mine, who I'm getting to know, asked me to do this fundraiser. It was for epilepsy. And I was like so tired. And the woman who organized it was so sweet. And the lady who asked me to do it was so sweet. And it was a Tuesday. And there was a bunch of great comics. And I went on and I was doing 30 minutes. I was closing the show. And it was going great. And then about 25 minutes in, I'm going to take 5 minutes and try to work some of my more newer stuff and edgier stuff. And I do this joke about how gender is the only thing that you can't really talk about. And I know people talk about it, I'm trying to do it my own way, without being labeled some sort of hater. And we just have to accept it. No questions asked. And I do this whole joke about we don't do that in other forms of our human existence. And I talk about this whole thing about basically if you order a meal and you get a steak and broccoli and you get a baked potato, and then the waiter brings out a steak and broccoli instead of a baked potato, there's a yam. And then I'm like, "Hey bro, where's my baked potato?" The waiter doesn't go, "It's right there." And I go, "No bro, that's a yam." And the waiter doesn't go, "Oh no, it looks like a yam, but it identifies as a baked potato." Like that's a whole like you would just not accept that was a baked potato, right? So it's a longer bit. Anyway, as I'm doing that, it's the broken tile syndrome. 99 tiles are in place, 1 tile's out, and what do? As a comedian, you look at it. And so she's like, no, no, no. And I'm like, "Is there an issue, ma'am?" And she's like, "Well, it's just, I did that joke. Oh, and then there was another joke I did with it too, which is too long to tell." But she was like, "That's just stupid. That's just stupid." And I'm like, "Oh, well, thank you for your live action Yelp. I appreciate the review right here." And then, big laugh. And then she's like, "Well, it's just dumb. It's like, there's a lot of things to joke about. That was just stupid." And she goes, "I should know. I'm a comedian." And I'm like,
this woman was a comedian?
Oh yeah, there's like 20 minutes of me going, "What? Where are you comic?" And like, I'm like, "Roseanne, is that you?" And I'm like, "I don't know." Like, "Ellen, is that you?" Paula Poundstone. And it's like already that's disrespectful to like A, say some shit to a comedian, B, to say you're a comedian. If you are a comedian, an open micer will go, "Well, you know the rules." You know what I mean? So, and I was like, and then I said something else. And then the other lady who's on that, it was like, "Well, I just think there's a lot of things we can joke about. And, there's a lot of depression in the world." And it's like, it became a fucking self-help meeting. And so I don't mind the back and forth, but it was just that I'm not allowed to talk about this stuff. And then, so 8 people walked out, and it was probably like right
8,
after your
wow.
clip went viral. I don't have the shot, but the whole table left. And then I just talk about how that's the world we live in. If people don't agree with you, they just leave, as opposed to let's get to the root of it. So then a bunch of the comics that were on the show sat in the seat, and they're like, "We're comics, we're still here."
Wow, they were seat fillers.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's not very surprising. This is the way of the world now, and it's like, there was no hate in my heart. It's these are comics. We could talk about it later. And then afterwards, the totally hacky thing that people say is what? The loving left, right? The tolerant left. Like that's a hacky phrase. My DMs were filled with at least 5 people, and I have them. The amount of hate I got from these people was so huge, but I don't want to give it power, and I just ignored it. But it was like all of this hate.
Do you remember what they said in the messages?
Oh, yeah. And so I'm like, okay, that's not going to help you with me. I'm going to only fight back more. Like, you bring a match, I bring a flamethrower. I'm not the one. Like, I have nothing to fucking lose. Okay, like, I have everything, and I should be a person that's scared, but I'm not, because I will not back the fuck down. Either it's nuns who raised me, my Irish Catholic mother, I don't know, whether it's Philly. Don't push me. Unless I'm wrong and you educate me, then I'll go, I'm sorry. I was not educated enough. But, like, don't just fucking try to muffle me.
Okay, I think we got this working here. We're going to try to play this clip again because it was so good.
You said you're a comedian?
And this was a comedian.
And it's not funny?
God.
Well, I couldn't hear you over the laughs. Why did I pick that subject, though? What's our job, comedian? Is that the only thing? Be a good escape hatch when the day is bad? How about attack the most pressing issues of the day and try to make them palpable so people don't fight and try to bring it together? How about this is the church of humor?
Simpler ways to make people laugh when
Simpler?
we're in such a really crazy world.
This is an old.
Hold on, we're not, guys, you're raising your hand? Guys, when does this become a town hall meeting? And another thing, I'd like to talk about the recycling. Do you hear the laughter? You know, the gender spectrum is the only thing you really can't joke about. If I go to the bank and I withdraw $10,000, but I only had 5, and the teller tells me I'm overdrawn, I can't say, I identify as richer. And I identify this joke as not offensive. Whole table got up. You should stay. I'm not going to talk after. She would have hated my Aunt Jemima joke. Men and women's bodies are.
What club was that?
Freya.
Okay.
I love them there. They're incredible.
Would you have preferred them to stay and well, I guess a lot of comics would see that as them staying and heckling, but would it have been interesting to see like a conversation kind of flesh out between like you and the heckler lady? Or
I mean,
you were
I
glad that
have
you left?
It's so long. We just took the highlights of it, but yeah, but they just left. And it's like, you're free to do whatever you want, but don't ever say you're a comedian. Don't ever say you're a comedian. And like, if there's a comic on stage, I wouldn't announce that I was a comic and then leave. I would just leave if I was a comic and I didn't like to listen to other comics. I wouldn't announce it. So it's either don't announce it or just leave. But, to then say you are and then leave and then
that's very cringe. That person must have been an open micer, because anyone who's been doing it even 2 years knows not to that's embarrassing to announce to another comedian, I'm a comedian too.
There's unwritten rules. It's like, unfortunately, there's no barrier to entry on what this art form is. And yeah, it's just like, you know, I was tired too, and I wasn't in the best mental space, and I was trying to do it and do it. And so, yeah, I had a little bit of I had a little bit of a meltdown, but I don't mind it. I welcome it. You know, like I didn't say anything that I don't believe in. And again, I don't have any distaste for this person in my heart, but it's like, girl, it's like you I don't agree with you. And if you're a comedian, you have to read the room. If everyone's laughing, then you got to go, maybe he has a point. Like, that's why I'm so into like public opinion and public shaming. Like, if 55 people are going, you're wrong, this is weird, you have to look at it.
But that person, similar to my hecklers, like they really lack self-awareness. They hear, it's like they block out a room full of people laughing. They don't think, oh my God, everyone's enjoying this, but me, maybe I'm the problem. I think the comedy clubs are the first time a lot of these people even have ideas challenged.
Yes.
And it's like they have to like heckle and yell out because they just can't understand why.
That's a great. You just said something so great, Chrissy. Like, exactly that. It's like that's all we do, right? We challenge ideas. We get challenged. We get laughs. We don't get laughs. That's challenging. You know, other comics may not like what you're saying. It's so perfectly said. Ideas challenged. You're so wow. I never even think of it like that.
Because I've been on doing all of these appearances, like talking about this heckler moment over the last couple of weeks, and I'm just like, what would cause somebody to yell out like that? It's like she couldn't help it. She was like, no, you person who's on stage who we've all paid money to see, you're wrong. I'm right. I have to correct you. Like, the self-awareness is gone. It's just like, oh, no, I have to correct you. It's ultimately like very selfish, but it reveals the lack of self-awareness that these people have.
As narcissistic as comedians have to be to stand on stage, I would think a heckler is more narcissistic.
Yes. It's so selfish.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm so important that I'm going to interrupt the show and everyone else. So the collective $6,000 that paid for this show, my opinion is more. And obviously that's our job to then turn that into something funny, but we're not going to make it the fucking Karen show. And so if we do it, I always say, if it goes on too long, I go, anybody want a refund? I'm sorry she interrupted. I mean, I always try to make it funny, and then I'll offer refunds, and I've never had to give them one.
Wow.
And I offered all those people refunds.
A refund just because there was a heckler?
Yes, and I offer the hecklers refunds. And you'd be amazed that none of them ever take it, but they don't want to fucking stop talking. So that just means at home, there's a lack of orgasms. That was racist. I don't know.
That was racist against non-comers.
Yeah. I love you, but I've got to get off.
Yes, you're a busy boy, Jamie Kennedy. Thank you so much for the time. You're a blast. You're so much fun.
Awesome. And this was so much more tamer than I thought. You're like, it's going to be live. I'm going to get you.
It's going to be live. No, I want to talk about you. You're the interesting person here. And
First of all, your heckle was incredible. I'm honored that you interviewed me because your heckle was a fucking masterclass. And the material was so funny. Like, when you're talking about adding on a dick and like all this, it was so fucking funny. Everyone should watch it.
Thank you.
And I would love to have you on my pod. We can go into some deep, beautiful, dark corners of life.
Let's get deep and dark. Jamie, where can they find you?
Just my website has everything, jamiekennedy.com. I'm on tour right now. You can see all my dates. I'm on tour for the next 5 weeks, and then I'm going to take a break for a month and a half. But my Instagram, the Jamie Kennedy, my TikTok is where I post a lot of good stuff.
I'm just going to go through all these. Let's see if there's any questions for Jamie really quickly. Ghost Crusaders. I'm Chinese and Puerto Rican. I wouldn't want to watch a modern version of A Nightmare on Elm Street with a Chinese Freddy Krueger. Race swapping is pandering. Okay, I don't know if that's really pertains to Jamie. Mr. Kennedy, can you go over the horror rules one by one?
Never have sex. Never drink or do drugs. Never say I'll be right back.
Actors should go to jail for one night. That's true. Comedy so sad today. Jamie couldn't do the dude. That's a dude prank.
Oh, 100% true. 100% true. That was me when I dressed up as a woman on spring break and I tried to get a dude to hook up with me. And I convinced him that I wasn't a dude. That would be considered a hate crime now.
But it would maybe consider you authentically gay. Maybe you could get that
But I
role
never
now.
really come off as a woman. I always come off with a dude with big shoulders.
Minor Zircon. Sorry, Jamie. I remembered your Love Line appearances. Wow, I loved Love Line.
Dr. Drew.
Wow, Heckler was a good doc. You should make Hecklers too.
Working on it potentially.
Ooh. Let's hear the Aunt Jemima show call.
That's all. That's too long. I would love it next time.
Oh my gosh. All right. I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much, Jamie. This was an absolute blast. Thank you, everybody.
I could talk to you for 3 hours. I apologize because I had to go. And next time we'll do more questions because I love talking to people.
Oh, you're the best. Thank you so much, Jamie.
Thank you, Chris. I'm honored, man. Keep fighting the good fight.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Appreciate
The honor is all
mine.
mine.
Thank you for not going and another thing in the middle of a live and people coming for me.
Oh, gosh, no. All right, toodles. Wow, Jamie Kennedy. A couple more super chats here. J.S. Pena, Lee Allen Baker, and now Jamie Kennedy. Nice. Thank you for the super chat. What the hell? Didn't you just have a podcast? Who do you think you are, Tim Pool? Well, just trying to cram as much gram as I can. Thank you, Clint. Gotta stay busy. Russell Hall, if you care 10%, that's 10%. That 10% is gonna break you. I think it's probably hard to care 0%. I mean, there are things I care about. Minor Zircon. Wild! Jamie Kennedy, you have a fat fanny. Is that me or him has a fat fanny? I hope it's me. Russell Hall, let's hear the intro. Oh, right. I already did that. Guys, that was fun. That was really cool. That was great to have him on. I didn't even make any Scream references. But yeah, good questions, guys. Thank you for watching. I'll have to get him back on for another episode. And we will see you guys next time. Bye.